Welcome to my primer series on the tactical wargame Fistful of Toes 3. This video will discuss some of the basic concepts of the game before subsequent videos showcase specific chapters and rules. Fistful of Toes is a simply complex game, meaning there are lots of systems in place to give the player a great variety of options during play. Warhammer and Flames of War follow a pretty simple flowchart when playing. Move stands, roll to shoot, roll to save, resolve artillery, roll to see if a stand flees the board, and then turn it over to your opponent for their turn. Fistful of Toes is far more daunting. I mean, look at this quick reference sheet and tell me you can make a linear flow out of those tables. Despite being a quick reference, there are 84 pages of rules attached to each section of the chart you will have to reference. This may be the reason so few creators on YouTube make Fistful of Toes content. Notable contributors are Tabletop War Stories, Jezza 1, and Wardrobe Plays. The goal of this series is to break down these systems to make gameplay fun and easy for new players who want to take on this rat's nest of rules. Scales in Fistful of Toes 3 are left to the player. While it's best fitted for 2 to 6 millimeter, it can be played up to 15 millimeter or even 28 millimeter if you wish. For smaller scales, all ranges can be reduced to centimeters instead of inches. Pushing army sizes too big or too small might be a bit much on the game, as individual teams and weapons are lost in larger formations and overly minute in smaller formations, but I believe it could be done with some homebrewing. Rules for one-to-one scaling for vehicles are in the book, but will not be covered in this series. The game is best suited to brigade or division-sized actions. An American division is made up of 3 brigades, while a brigade is typically made up of 3,000 to 4,000 men and their machines in battalions. Each battalion is made up of its core fighting components, companies of 100 to 300 men, and their 6 to 12 vehicles. For those that don't understand the jumble of boxes and lines, just use the brigade size organizations laid out in the Army Builder. Typically, everything is broken down in threes of multiples or 3. For example, this is a list for a striker brigade. Here is a company of striker infantry with their vehicles. Here is a battalion of striker infantry. And here is an entire brigade. In my American Striker Brigade, I have selected an HQ with 120 millimeter mortar striker, 3 battalions consisting of 3 strikers, 3 mechanized infantry, and a company of striker mobile gun systems. For support, 3 batteries of M777 towed artillery are on standby, off table. I'm missing a striker team and a mortar section on the right in this image, but you get the gist of how to set up a brigade for play. And this is how my data sheet looks. Smaller teams with individual equipment or guns receive their own stands, like this ATGM stand. This game is highly flexible for everyone. Here I have made a company on a resin 3D printer, and here I have taped some coins and drawn NATO-style unit markers on it. The game can cost you $1,000 or the coins in your sofa. So long as you can cut a square piece of paper and draw on it, you can play Fistful of Toes. To begin, I recommend picking an army from the Armies lists at the end of the rules book. Please note that the rules explicitly say points are a reference, not a rule, so I wouldn't get bogged down in making the ideal army. Once you've found your army, transcribe each unit stats onto the quick reference sheet. If you cannot find a specific weapon or team's stats, try finding it under its manufacturing country. If it does not exist in the Army list, you can build it using a series of tables included in the rules book. The Army lists range from 1915 to modern day, so most everything is in there. Even future weapons have rules, like active protection systems on tanks and air defense lasers. Fistful of Toes 3 was written and published in 2011, so your fancy 2024 Sholrad Striker is likely not yet in the rules, but it shouldn't be too hard to build. For example, there is no rule for technicals, but these pickup trucks with toes bolted to them may as well be Jeeps with toes and use the same rules. Be aware, not all armies are created equal. An American Striker battalion has 3 companies with 3 strikers attached to them. Meanwhile, an Egyptian battalion alone has a tidal wave of 9 infantry with a mortar and Sager ATGM section. I also 3D printed some engineers too. The modularity of brigade detachments is a part of the fun and keeps things interesting. Now that you have your army and its stats, we will discuss the sequences and phases of play in the next video.